Good morning. The PMI continues to be in its contractionary phase. It was 46 for July, suggesting very clearly that while there was an initial bounce back, a fairly impressive bounce back after the lockdown was lifted, the growth continues to be elusive for the country. In fact, several other indicators, whether it is the number of daily e-way bills being generated or the electricity being consumed, a lot of these indicators show the same trend of a smart recovery to begin with and then a sort of plateauing of the growth there. Now, a lot of this has to do with the fact that consumer spending itself is muted. The government is too constrained to be able to actually invest enough money to kickstart the economy, and investment, as we know, continues to be in the doldrums due to complete lack of or a near complete lack of reforms in the country here. Now, that's one of the reasons for recovery remaining flat. The other is, of course, the fact that while there is no more national lockdown, there are a series of local lockdowns, and that itself is also creating a problem when it comes to pan-Indian supply chain. In fact, we have a quote in our newspaper today of Bajaj Auto Chief Rajiv Bajaj talking about the fact that it's going to be some time before the factory comes back to full steam. India's fresh corona cases, the good news is they continue to slow. Now, whether this is due to the fact that India has actually genuinely flattened, the curve has started to bend and India's infections have peaked, or whether this is due to the fact that India is using a lot more rapid antigen tests which don't really catch most infections. So it's not clear why India's infection levels are coming down. But despite all of this, what is truly alarming is that if you look at the number of districts in India that have over 1,000 cases, that has doubled in the last 1 month. And while it took about 5 days to reach 1 lakh cases about a month ago, it now takes just 2 days. In fact, that is the reason why, though it is only for today, that is the reason why India is actually the #1 country in the world, beating even the United States when it comes to the daily fresh infections. Now, of course, there's a little catch here, as I said. The problem is that every 5 or 6 days or every 6 or 7 days in the United States, for some reason which is not clear, you see a dip in the number of fresh cases. This has been a trend that has been observed for many weeks. So it is possibly just that which has made India the #1. But, and the bad news, this is not good news, but the bad news is that within a couple of weeks, India will undisputably beat America when it comes to the number of fresh cases there. Now, the piece of genuine good news, unalloyed good news is that the Serum Institute, which is the partner for the Oxford trial, the Oxford vaccine trials, has finally got the okay from the government of India for its phase 2 and phase 3 trials. While US President Donald Trump has talked about wanting to ban TikTok, the method that he has chosen seems to be a bit odd. Right now, what is being looked at is the possibility of Microsoft buying out TikTok. Now, the problem with this solution is that though obviously ByteDance would like to continue TikTok, if Microsoft buys out ByteDance and buys TikTok, ByteDance still gets a significant chunk of money. So unlike the Indians who have banned TikTok and therefore dealt a big blow to the Chinese owner, the Americans are actually giving the Chinese owner a way out. Now, that's not good news. Former NIPFP chief Govinda Rao raises a very important question about the 15th Finance Commission in his monthly column in the Financial Express. Essentially, what he's talking about is that with the Finance Commission, looking at the amount of money that the government of India needs to spend on recapitalizing banks, there is a possibility that the Finance Commission may actually reduce the share of states in terms of overall devolutions. Now, if that happens, that's completely unfortunate. One, the states are being penalized for no fault of their own. I repeat, this is a caveat. If that happens, the states are getting a raw deal because they are not to blame for this. They'll just get a smaller share of the central revenue. More important, or equally important, it completely boggles the mind that the government of India continues to, year after year, spend more money recapitalizing banks without even making the littlest effort to actually privatize them. If these banks have to have a future, they have to be privatized. So nobody is arguing that the government must not recapitalize them, but there's no point letting that money go to waste. The recapitalization has to be accompanied with drastic privatization. Another editorial column today lambasts the government for the cavalier manner in which it is dealing with export schemes. The MEIS export scheme, for example, used to be 43,000 crores in FY20. And suddenly, for the first 9 months of FY21, it has been capped at 9,000 crore rupees. So essentially, exporters are looking at a 75 to 80% shortfall in terms of the export incentives that they would normally have got. And there's a related problem here, is that while the government is hoping that it will curb the MEIS and it will come up with more PLI type schemes of the type that it gave for mobile phones, the problem with this is that a PLI type scheme is essentially meant for 1 or 2 sectors or 3 or 4 sectors, where the MEIS or the export incentives actually are more about defraying the cost of doing business in India. So, infrastructure is expensive in India, electricity is expensive, real estate is expensive. Red tape takes a lot of time. So it is to compensate this that various export incentives are being given. So if the export incentives are either reduced, as they are right now, or they are given to a few sectors, as will happen in the PLI scheme, what happens to the other sectors? That's something which the government of India really needs to figure out. Essentially, as the article points out, the government simply does not have the money, either now or later, to be able to give cash to make up for all the disincentives or the disabilities that producers have when they manufacture in India, whether it's a high labor cost or the electricity or the land or other costs. So the only way forward for the government is to actually start reforming these sectors. The bad news here is that the government is not reforming the sectors, and instead of that, it is resorting to piecemeal, increase in import duties to protect individual sectors. Now that is problematic for one, because the sectors which see the import duty hike are really, that encourages cronyism and lobbying and things like that. So that is the problem. And secondly, it just makes the Indian economy a high cost economy. Another article by Mohandas Pai and Nisha Holla makes a case for the RBI selling its gold reserves to the government at cost and essentially transferring a couple of lakh crores to the government in this manner. The argument that they give is that these are very unusual times and the government could really do with the money. But in the light of the controversy that took place about the RBI's reserves and the government tapping into them, and then the setting up of the Bimal Jalan committee which looked into it and gave its recommendations, it is unlikely or unclear as to whether this will actually be heeded to. Watch this space. Thank you. Have a great day.